I just got the Platinum Trophy for Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, and honestly, I wasn't even planning on playing this game anytime soon. I had just finished up the entire Dishonored series, and I even started putting some time into Crimson Desert. But for some reason, something about the Uncharted series just kept calling my name. I don't know if it was because I was coming off the first game or just seeing it everywhere, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I ended up putting Crimson Desert on the back burner, picked this game up, and decided to just fully commit to it. And this time, I wanted to approach it differently than I did with Uncharted 1. I ended up playing through Uncharted 1 twice, once on hard difficulty and once again on crushing. But for this one, I told myself, I'm just going to go straight into the crushing difficulty and get everything done with in one run. No extra playthroughs, no unnecessary grind, just get it done. And honestly, that ended up being one of the best decisions I could have made. Because what really surprised me about this game is how much more manageable it felt compared to the first one. I went into it expecting it to be more frustrating, more punishing, but instead it felt a lot smoother, more balanced, and just overall it felt way more forgiving than the first game. To me, the combat in this game flowed a lot better, the encounters felt way more fair, and it actually made the Platinum journey way more enjoyable than I expected. And that's what really stood out to me with this experience. It wasn't about finishing another Platinum, it was about seeing how much the series improved from the first game, and now that I finished this one, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping into Uncharted 3 and 4 next. But for now, let's break down this Platinum, talk about how the journey actually felt, and figure out if Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is really worth your time in going for the Platinum. But to answer that question, let's dive into my Platinum journey for Uncharted 2. To start off, I decided to look up a guide for this game to get a rough idea of how long it would take to complete the Platinum. When looking up the guide, it said the Platinum would take roughly 15 hours to complete. To be totally honest with you, I'm not really sure how long it took to complete this Platinum because I have the collection on PS5 and it tracks all 3 games, but I do believe it took me anywhere between 15 to 20 hours for this one. But to start off the journey, I jumped into the first mission of the game, and we are awakened with Nathan Drake having got shot, and he's on a train that was hanging on the side of a mountain. I managed to climb out of the train and somehow made a jump and avoided plummeting into a giant cavern. As soon as we got to the top and woke up again, the game began. Also, for the sake of only having to play through this game one time on the crushing difficulty, like I mentioned earlier, I am going to be following a guide for all of the treasures so I can grab them as I go through the game. If you see that as a little bit cheaty, that's fine, it's not your video. So as soon as I got control over Nathan, I made my way over and collected the first treasure of the game, and with that came the first trophy, first treasure. Now look, you may think this is unfair, but I call it using my resources so I don't spend too much time on this game, because there are a lot of games I want to get videos out of this year. A lot of new ones and a lot of old ones, and there's a lot coming out. But anyways, moving on. I managed to get through most of the mission and managed to wake up to a new character named Chloe. Now, Chloe was already introduced in the beginning of the game with a cutscene, but this is when I learned her and Nate were pretty close, if you see what I mean. Nate was in the middle of pulling off a job to help Chloe and a man named Flynn find something. At the end of the first chapter, we discovered an ancient knife that was stuck into the snow, which triggered the start of the next mission. This ended up being a flashback, and it took us back to when Chloe, Flynn, and Nate were actually deciding to rob a museum. But during this mission though, I accidentally opened photo mode and got the trophy, New Paparazzi in Town. And yes, this one was a complete accident, I really didn't mean to. I continued through the whole mission with Flynn to find the treasure we were looking for, but when we finally found it, Flynn had already decided to leave us and betray us. We did manage to run from all of the police, but eventually got caught after trying to escape through the sewer. Now, Chloe and Sully finally managed to show up to bail Nate out of jail, but there was a lack of trust because Nate believed Chloe was in on it with Flynn. But after some time, they managed to figure out what they were looking for and that it was the Chintamani stone. After bailing Nate out of jail, the 3 of them decided that they were going to go and look for Shangri-La. Now getting into chapter 3, it starts off with Sully and Nate going into a remote forest going after Flynn and Lazarevich's camp. While I was here, I did manage to die a lot, but I managed to also take out 20 enemies in hand-to-hand combat, and I got the trophy Bare Knuckle Brawler. I also managed to nail 5 headshots in a row and got the trophy Headshot Expert. I also managed to land my 20th overall headshot for the trophy 20 headshots. And honestly, there was one part in the chapter I kept getting stuck in, and I'm going to blame it on the fact that it was crushing difficulty and I was definitely feeling it at the beginning of this game. After finally getting through this portion of the mission though, which I probably reset roughly like 7 times, I managed to find my 20th treasure for the trophy, Novice Fortune Hunter. We managed to plant some explosives in Lazarevich's camp, and we finally found Flynn and Lazarevich, and we set off those explosives to draw them away. And we managed to steal whatever information they had gathered up until this point. Now, right after this, you get into a specific gunfight, and I feel like this really made me feel super comfortable with the game, especially when it came to picking my spots, nailing headshots, and just the overall combat for this game felt way smoother at this point. Maybe something just clicked within this game, but everything felt significantly simpler and it just felt a lot easier when it came to the combat, the gunplay, picking my spots. All of that stuff felt way easier after this point. We did finally manage to meet up with Chloe and we made our way into a temple to try to find out what happened to the previous group that was here. But we did find a pretty cool knife, which is actually the same knife that you see in the first chapter, that would actually be the key to this entire adventure. After we did leave the temple, Chloe turned on us when Flynn finally caught up. However, she managed to help Sully and Nate escape and they managed to run off and jumped off a waterfall. After that, we managed to meet up with Chloe in a city that was essentially in a civil war with itself. During this chapter though, while running from the military group that was hunting me, I did manage to find the strange relic and got the trophy Relic Finder. Nothing else really happened here other than I managed to meet up with Chloe and we opted to look for a temple that had a specific symbol that was related to Shangri-La. But for that, we needed to find the highest building, which Chloe actually recommended a massive hotel building that she already knew about. Going into the next chapter while looking for this hotel building, I managed to get into a massive gunfight, but I managed to get my 30th kill with the grenades and got the trophy 30 kills MKNDI. After this, we finally managed to find the hotel building, only to be hunted by a helicopter, and we needed to get away from it. But it eventually managed to take down the whole building that we were inside. Chloe and I got separated for a short while, but we eventually met up again, where we managed to find Elena and a cameraman named Jeff. We took them along with us in our search for the temple. I did manage to eventually make it to the temple with everyone, but we left Elena and Jeff outside, and with Chloe at our side, we went inside to find some more clues about Shambhala. We discovered that somewhere within the mountains was where Shangri-La was located, but we were eventually ambushed by Lazarevich's men. At this point, the only goal was to find Elena. We did manage to find her and Jeff, and we managed to get into a giant shootout with Lazarevich's men again. We did win, but at the cost, Jeff took a bullet to the gut. Nate wasn't going to leave our new friend here to die. So we put him on our shoulder to escape, and along the way, I managed to get my 50th kill with the N2 FS 9mm pistol for the trophy. Lazarevich and Flynn managed to finally catch up with us, and they ended Jeff's life. He tried to take Elena from us, but we managed to convince them not to. But they did catch Chloe with us, and Flynn began to finally figure out that she was actually siding with us. But we didn't have time to worry about that because Elena and Nate had to get away, and we did manage to run and finally escape from Lazarevich's men. Instead of giving up and running, which would have made the game significantly shorter if we did that, Nate decided to have honor among thieves and mount a rescue for Chloe. Elena decided to help us and we were off to a train yard. On the way, we did find treasure number 40 and got the trophy Intermediate Fortune Hunter. I also died a few times in the same gunfight, but I was hanging from a sign, and I managed to grab 2 trophies during these resets. Number 1 being Hangman for killing 20 enemies with gunfire while hanging. Number 2 being Grenade Hangman for killing 10 enemies with grenades while hanging. We managed to finally make it to the train yard, and somehow I managed to wreck a whole train car and got trapped by Lazarevich's men. While I was fending all of these guys off, I did manage to nail my 100th headshot for the trophy 100 headshots. Elena finally decided to show up with the Jeep, and we went after the train car to save Chloe. When I made it on the train, I did manage to defeat my 50th enemy with hand-to-hand combat for the trophy Bare Knuckle Slugger. It took a lot of effort, but I managed to make it through the whole train section with only a few resets. Eventually, we did manage to crash half of the train off of the mountain. I mean, to be honest, what do you expect when you're riding a tank on a train to fight off a helicopter? But this is where the story took a cool turn, because it basically brought you back to the beginning of chapter 1 and how it started out. But this time, I found a bunch of Lazarevich's men, and I managed to take them out silently and got the trophy Master Ninja. We managed to finally get away, but we ended up fainting and we got saved by a random man. We eventually woke up and realized that this man took us back to his village, where we eventually met up with Elena. We did also meet a German man here who told us that he had previously looked for the Chintamani stone. He told us where to look, and the man that actually found us decided to be our guide along the way, even though we spoke 2 different languages. During our travels within this mountain though, we found our 60th treasure and got the trophy Proficient Fortune Hunter. We did go through the whole mountain and managed to meet up with some crazy enemies for this game. Now these guys are basically called the Shambhala Guardians, and their only goal was to defeat us and prevent us from finding Shambhala. Let me tell you, these guys are significantly less frightening than the Descendants in Uncharted 1. But we did manage to finally escape the mountain and realize that the village was actually under attack. So we made our way back to the village and found that Lazarevich and his men had finally found this village. But I did manage to nail my 50th kill on these guys with the M4 and got the trophy 50 kills M4. We made it all the way through the village to find out Lazarevich had stolen the German man. So Elena and Nate do what they always do and steal a car and chase the man down. Nothing exciting really happened with the next 2 chapters other than we were fighting a ton of enemies and chasing Lazarevich. I did eventually nail my 250th headshot and got the trophy 250 headshots. Right after that same firefight, I managed to find my 80th treasure for the trophy Expert Fortune Hunter. Elena and Drake followed Lazarevich to a temple that they believed contained the entrance to Shambhala within it. We found ourselves in another ambush, surprise, but I managed to get my 50th kill with the Dragon Sniper for the trophy 50 kills Dragon Sniper. We also managed to discover the entrance to Shambhala, or at least what we thought was, but that's when we got kidnapped by Lazarevich and Flynn again. They managed to use Elena and Chloe as bait to get Nate to cooperate with them. Eventually, after unlocking the entrance to Shambhala, Lazarevich decided he was done with Drake, and right then and there, he was going to end him. But right when he was about to pull the trigger, we were attacked by the Shambhala Guardians, who were just gigantic blue men. We managed to use these guys as a distraction, and we used it to escape. And I realized something shortly after. I did no damage to these Shambhala Guardians. After a ton of resets, I managed to take out my first one. After unloading multiple clips from the AK in him, I eventually stole his crossbow and took out the second one. And that's when I really realized I did nothing to them. And this was going to be a very tough section of the game, especially on the crushing difficulty. But I continued on with the main story in the next few chapters, and we finally got towards the end of the game where we found our 100th treasure and got a trophy. A short walk further up, we got the last treasure that we needed for the trophy, Master Thief Collection. We ended up finding Flynn, who had been shot and was taken care of by Lazarevich. Elena did get too close and she got blown up, and now we were trying to make an escape with her to get her out. This is when we got attacked by Lazarevich's men. Of course, we managed to get Chloe and what was left of Elena to safety. But Drake's got to do what Drake wants to do, and he went after Lazarevich by himself. Let me tell you, this was one of the most difficult boss fights I have ever attempted in a video game. I mean, on the crushing difficulty, it was like one shot and I was done. And if he punched me, I was done. 2 good shots from the shotgun and I was out. After like an hour of resetting and not being able to beat this guy, I did something unspeakable. I exploited him. So basically, if you stand still and fist fight him, he will only melee you. And it gives you enough time to recover. But all you need to do is stand next to one of the sat pockets and hit him with it whenever it respawns, and you can eventually take him out. Look, I'm not proud of this, but I probably would have been here for another day or 2 if I didn't do this. And I still got Uncharted 3 and 4 to finish on crushing difficulty. So after a bit of time, I finally managed to take down Lazarevich, and even though I didn't defeat him the honest way, I did weaken him enough for the Shambhala Guardians to finish him off. And with that, we finished the story and we got 4 trophies. Uncharted, crushing, hard, normal, easy. Now at this point, all I needed to do was clean up the rest of the trophies, and honestly, I managed to complete all these trophies on the chapter selection by replaying chapter 6. I managed to take out 5 guys with 1 explosive and got the trophy Dynamite Master. I got all the required kills for all of the weapons I hadn't completed yet and got the following trophies. 30 kills Desert 5, 30 kills RPG 7, 30 kills West 44, 50 kills FAL, 50 kills M32 Hammer, 50 kills Micro 9mm, 50 kills SAS 12, 30 kills Moss 12. Finally, 20 kills Pistole. I did also manage to run around and kill 20 enemies while shooting from the hip and got the trophy Running Gunner. I got 20 kills with a single punch after weakening an enemy with gunfire for the trophy Steel Fist Master. I did also manage to defeat 10 enemies in a row with hand-to-hand combat and got the trophy Bare Knuckle Expert. Then I went on to defeat 10 enemies in a row with 1 punch after damaging them with gunfire for the trophy Steel Fist Expert. Now, I decided at this point for one of my final trophies, I would go back to the chapter select screen and pick a different mission. And I went back to the mission where you were actually carrying Jeff out. And I set the difficulty to easy, and with some tweaks on, I managed to defeat 75 enemies in a row for the trophy Survivor. Now, the last thing I needed to do was the speedruns, and honestly, these either go one of 2 ways, which is really, really well, or it's super annoying. But I managed to complete Chapter 3 on the first try in less than 6.5 minutes and got the trophy Staying Dry. I completed Chapter 5 after resetting only 1 time because I missed 1 jump and I felt like it ruined the whole run, so I just reset it. But I beat it in less than 7.5 minutes for the trophy Quick Jaunt Through a War Zone. And the last one I needed to complete was Chapter 13, Locomotion. And after 3 resets, I managed to complete it in less than 7 minutes and got the trophy Bullet Train from Hell. And with that, the platinum finally popped. Platinum. And we were finally done. So how was my Uncharted 2 experience? And how was the platinum experience? Would I recommend this game to anyone in 2026? Honestly, this game was absolutely fantastic. I personally think I even enjoyed it better than the first game. I enjoyed the story for the first game a ton, but I really felt like this one sucked me in way more. Sure, it's pretty similar in the plot and everything that goes on throughout it, but I enjoyed the change of scenery in this game way more. Where the first one basically took place a majority of the time on the same island, but this one you changed it up a lot. But I also enjoyed the guns in this game a little bit more. And there's not much difference, there was a few new ones that were added. They added such a better experience. And honestly, my experience on crushing was super fun. Sure, was I frustrated and had to reset quite a bit of times? Yeah, but I had a ton of fun with it. And when I actually beat it, it felt very rewarding. And the first game really didn't. I would have resets where I would die as soon as I spawned in, multiple times. This one I didn't really experience that, and I felt like the checkpoints that they gave you were really, really fair. I overall just felt like this game improved in every way. The Platinum experience was a ton of fun too. It is super simple and fairly quick to complete. The hardest thing that you're going to have to do is complete the game on crushing difficulty. But even that, as long as you take your time and you're patient, like I mentioned, it has a ton of checkpoints that make you feel fair when you go through it. But anyways, there's my Platinum review of Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. Comment any games or series of games that you want to see me either Platinum or 100%. And if you made it this far, go ahead and comment what you're currently playing through, because I want to know. Maybe you'll give me a game recommendation and I'll throw it in there before I play anything else. And I will see you guys in the next one.